어떡해?
조금 쑥스럽기도 하고 제가 이렇게 한국말로 얘기하는 거 누구도 못 알아듣지만 like the word macchioso.
I don't know anything about you anyway. You're from Italy, aren't you?
Sì.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Ciao, come stai?
If you still want me, yes. I could do some of the things I've always wanted.
Like what?
I'd like to do just whatever I like, the whole day long.
Why don't we do all those things together?
Enjoy lifetime Italy.
This is Maurizio, and Maurizio is, well, a bit of a hero of mine because he published this book, which is called, in English it's called Capturing Light, and in Italian, Immagini e Memoria, Pictures and Memory, you know?
Yes.
And it's actually quite interesting because we came into contact because your parents have this hairdresser that is fantastic because it's just on the side of a cliff in just outside of Amalfi, and it's so tiny, and only the local signore that go there, and I feel like I'm the only one who's under 70 who goes there, no, and they're so lovely. I just I go there every time I'm in the Amalfi Coast, and one day I was speaking with your mother, and I said, I don't like the fact that all these tourists come here and they don't see this other side of the Amalfi Coast. They don't know that there is this whole history, this past. I mean, they see the square in Amalfi and Positano and Capri, and they don't know, or they're not curious about what has come before. And then she tells me that you have made this book because you also care. You're very passionate about the history of the Amalfi Coast.
Sì, è una passione che risale a moltissimi anni fa ed è una passione che mi ha portato a collezionare immagini del passato della costa, immagini fotografiche in particolare, e che nel tempo approfondendo la ricerca, mi hanno spinto a pubblicare questo volume dedicato appunto alla storia della fotografia in costiera amalfitana, dalle origini, dalle prime fotografie note.
This book is the very first photographs that have ever existed of the Amalfi Coast. So I mean, these are antique photographs and postcards. And Maurizio, I mean, it's such a big, I mean, it's a masterpiece, un capolavoro, because you must have spent, I mean, ages collecting all of these images, and these images, I mean, tell you so much about how the Amalfi Coast has changed and how it has remained the same. And for me, I have to tell you, when I first looked at this book, I was so moved. Non so se mi segui, ma
capisco.
Sì, but because this is what I care about so passionately is, you can come to the Amalfi Coast and be around the swimming pool and go shopping, but I think it's also important to understand the history and the past of this land, and because it's beautiful, no? Ha una bellissima storia la costiera amalfitana.
Una storia lunga, una grandissima tradizione che nasce col Grand Tour nell'Ottocento e che ha visto in costiera artisti, pittori, poeti e anche importanti fotografi che però erano poco noti
I guess that this is the thing that you discovered, no, is that there were these photographs of the Amalfi Coast taken by some very important photographers, particularly French photographers, and when you look at them, I mean, it's incredible because you put this whole collection together, and it cioè, racconta veramente la storia della costiera amalfitana. These photographs show the history of the Amalfi Coast from 1852 until 1962, which was the exact year that Jacqueline Kennedy was living in Ravello, and Maurizio's mother actually was 22 at the time, and she saw Jacqueline Kennedy go past her front doorstep every morning. And what you may not know, I mean, you've probably heard of the Gore Vidal and Jacqueline Kennedy, all these famous people, but what is perhaps not as well known is just how tough the life was back then. È stata molto dura la vita, in quel tempo, no?
Assolutamente, la costa di Amalfi comunque non era un luogo ricco, è stato un luogo di forte immigrazione verso gli Stati Uniti, in Sud America. Purtroppo questo era un luogo che non offriva molte prospettive, in particolare dopo la Seconda Guerra Mondiale. E questi erano praticamente le donne che lavavano gli stracci che servivano per la fabbricazione della carta a mano di Amalfi.
Wow. And here you have pasta drying out in the sun. It's so different from how we think of the Amalfi Coast now. I mean, now it's a place where people come from all over the world. But then, I mean, there are pictures in here of women who, because they didn't have water in the houses, the women had to carry these big barrels on their necks. And Maurizio's mother was telling me, she said, I tried one of them. They have a cushion that would go around this part, no? Se non mi sbaglio. Sì. And a cushion so that then, because they would have to carry them and then walk up the hills, no?
Yes.
And so these barrels, I mean, you can see them. They're not just this big. I mean, we're talking like this long and heavy and full of water. And it was the women that carried them, no? And what were the men doing? Cioè, che cosa facevano gli uomini?
Come in tutte nel sud dell'Italia, spesso purtroppo i lavori più faticosi venivano fatti dalle donne e in particolare questo lavoro di trasportare, visto che la costiera, diciamo, è verticale dal mare verso la collina, i monti, lungo le scale, i sentieri, tutti i prodotti delle coltivazioni, in particolare i limoni che venivano portati a spalle in questi grossi contenitori di vimini o di castagno che venivano detti comunemente bomboniere e che potevano pesare anche 80-90 kg. 80-90 kg ciascuno.
Wow. So each one was 80 or 90 kilograms. And Maurizio saying that not only did they have to carry water, but also lemons, because this was one of the main businesses, I guess, of the time. It was the women who did the hardest, most strenuous work. But I still don't understand, what were the men doing? Ma gli uomini, che cosa facevano?
Gli uomini generalmente si dedicavano altro, magari alla coltivazione e alla pesca. Però il trasporto in particolare tutte le fasi di lavorazione del limone, che erano fasi abbastanza delicate, perché il frutto non doveva essere scalfito, in particolare doveva essere selezionato in base alla grandezza.
So what Maurizio is saying is that lemons were obviously grown here in the Amalfi Coast, and then they were shipped all over the world. Now this is a very important there was a very important selection process, and so this was the work of the women. And so just to make sure that it was the right they were picked at the right time, and that everything was done quite carefully. Meanwhile, the men they were out fishing, and in general, and the women were involved not only in transporting the lemons, but also in actually picking them. No?
Yes.
Okay, and so I mean, I think I saw these photos, and it made me feel this tenderness, I guess, for the people of the Amalfi Coast, because it was really a very physical life, wasn't it? It was very, non so se mi...
Era una vita difficile, una vita lontana dal benessere,
sì,
che è arrivato poi con il turismo negli anni 60 del Novecento, e che adesso vede la costa, diciamo, meta di viaggio
sì,
conosciuta e ambita in tutto il mondo.
sì,
Però c'è stato un passato di difficoltà, di povertà
sì,
e di una vita semplice legata alla coltivazione del terreno, alla pesca, lontana dai fasti
sì,
della Repubblica Marinara di Amalfi e dallo splendore di un passato, diciamo, legato alla tradizione del Grand Tour dell'Ottocento.
So when, in fact, when did it all change? What was the catalyst? What changed things on the Amalfi Coast? Because it has gone from being this place that was very rustic and very, a place of, South Italy, to a place of glamour and a place of wealth. So what changed?
È cambiato, diciamo, alla fine degli anni 50 e con l'inizio degli anni 60.
Really quite late, no?
Yes,
Cioè,
yes,
abbastanza tardi.
abbastanza tardi. E sull'onda e sulla scia di personaggi illustri che hanno soggiornato qui, una tra queste Jacqueline Kennedy nel 62, ma con tante altre frequentazioni importanti.
Sì. You're saying that there were lots of film directors and cinematographers who chose the Amalfi Coast, and that brought the attention from all the world to this area.
Sì, è corretto.
This is Lana Turner. She's wearing quite a glamorous outfit for the beach, no?
Sì.
Con I tacchi pure. I'd really like to show you some of these pictures, because you have to see it, no? You have to see it to believe it, because now, I mean, you go into, like, for example, the square in Amalfi, tourists and groups of people coming from all over the world, and people with a megaphone saying, now we are in Amalfi. But before, I mean, there's this picture that I particularly love, and the women put their washing all down the stairs to dry it. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, it's difficult to sort of conceive that these women back then were using the steps of the Duomo in the main square of Amalfi to dry their clothes in the sun. Maurizio, does this make you sad? Does this make you sad when you think that, that perhaps this history has been lost? Ti rende triste questa cosa?
Mi rende triste, però i tempi cambiano.
Sì.
C'è un passato che sicuramente va conosciuto, di cui non bisogna perdere la memoria, perché è importante conoscere da dove veniamo, ma è chiaro che i tempi cambiano. Oggi la costa di Amalfi è un'altra, difficilmente il turista un po' frettoloso dei nostri giorni potrebbe o può immaginare che magari nella piazza attigua al Duomo veniva stesa la pasta da asciugare. Infatti Amalfi era famosa anche per la lavorazione delle paste alimentari.
What I wanted to talk about also is, I mean, you might ask yourself, how did Maurizio have this idea? And I read that it was because you were collecting stamps to begin with, no? You were collecting
First I collect stamps.
Francobolli or
Francobolli.
Sì. Maurizio's mother sort of gave him this passion for this hobby of collecting stamps, and it then developed over the years into a passion for anything that is antique and that in a way tells a story about his homeland, the Amalfi Coast. And I think what's also in here, which you didn't mention, is not just photographs, but also postcards. And postcards I am fascinated by, because so many people just throw them out these days. You find them in markets, no? Si possono trovare. But these postcards tell such stories of the people that lived here, and they tell it better than any history book, really, because it's real life. It's what people were really feeling at the time. And what's wonderful is that Maurizio has actually found these postcards with these stories, and then he's included the text. He's written it all out. It's all in English and in Italian, and some of them are like for example, there's one postcard and it talks about what happened when there was a landslide, no?
Sì.
Se non mi sbaglio.
Sì, la frana che ha coinvolto l'antico hotel dei Cappuccini,
Sì.
oggi Hotel Convento,
Sì.
il 22 dicembre 1899
Sì.
e che ha in parte e che ha modificato addirittura il panorama
Sì.
di Amalfi.
He's telling me that these postcards, the words could be recounting so many different things. I mean, some of them are just we're here and this is what we're doing and we're on holiday, but others are telling about a religious festival, a religious time, and others still are telling just events that have happened, like this big landslide that destroyed this hotel here in Amalfi. And I think what I'm interested to hear is, how did you find all of these things? Because this is a lot of work, no? Did you go into the houses of every person on the Amalfi Coast?
È iniziato tutto frequentando i mercatini
sì.
e
So,
tutte le fiere specializzate in Italia,
okay.
in particolare anche all'estero.
Non solo qua, ma
No,
in tutta l'Italia.
in tutta Italia e all'estero.
Mamma mia! So he, Maurizio went all over markets to find anything that was on the Amalfi Coast, any photographs, postcards, stamps, and not only just on the Amalfi Coast, in Italy and also overseas. So he found
In Europa.
he found like even little watercolored paintings and postcards and all kinds of memorabilia, but in South America, in Canada, in the United States, in Europe, in France, you know, it's just incredible because these things would have been lost, no? Cioè,
molto è andato perduto chiaramente, però c'è stato, per fortuna, la costa di Amalfi, che è stata meta di viaggio a vita già nell'Ottocento,
sì,
ha avuto una enorme produzione di souvenir,
sì,
quindi cartoline postali e fotografie,
sì,
o per esempio prima dell'avvento della foto e la diffusione delle cartoline postali, gli acquerelli, i piccoli dipinti che i turisti acquistavano per portare con sé appunto questo ricordo del loro soggiorno. Sono nelle case di mezzo mondo e con un po' di passione, con del tempo libero, sapendo dove e come cercare, si possono fare dei ritrovamenti a volte anche molto molto interessanti.
And tell me, I mean, were the people of Amalfi, were they happy with the result? Have they seen this book?
Questa è una nota dolente, purtroppo.
Mi dispiace.
Diciamo, purtroppo c'è molta poca attenzione, o comunque ce n'è stata poca in loco, diciamo, quindi forse distratti da molte altre cose e da un momento, da una congiuntura economica non molto favorevole. Però devo dire c'è stato pochissima attenzione qui in costiera.
This is their story, è la loro storia, no? He's saying, as with many things, he's saying you're very kind. Tu sei molto gentile, anzi troppo gentile, because he's saying, well, they're obviously distracted by many other things, and you know, people are concerned these days with making money and not so much with history. But I think it's crucial. Anzi, I think it's imperative to remember where you have come from and the way of life, the people that have worked so hard to create this place and to preserve all the traditions, and not only that, just the landscape. I mean, physically, they have preserved the Amalfi Coast, no?
Sì, è vero, proprio così. Chi ci ha preceduto, le generazioni che ci hanno preceduto hanno modificato il territorio e quello che oggi vediamo, in particolare i terrazzamenti, sono frutto di un duro lavoro che ha strappato per cercare di avere una superficie coltivabile più ampia e che ha poi trasformato la costa di Amalfi. Se la costa di Amalfi oggi è quello che è ed è riconoscibile nel mondo per i suoi terrazzamenti di limoni, lo deve al duro lavoro delle generazioni che ci hanno preceduto.
So you see these like terraced gardens, no? And when you see it from the ferry particularly, you can notice it. I mean, everywhere from Positano all the way, you know, up to Minori, Maori, you can see these terraced gardens built into the side of the rock, with lemon groves, with, you know, cultivating other different things, vegetables and wine, and this was extremely hard to create, to make sure that the Amalfi Coast had something to cultivate, no? Because it wasn't possible to make money before they created all this land that could be
Era
used.
l'unica fonte di reddito, era appunto, ed era la produzione che rendeva di più era appunto quella del limone sfusato amalfitano, che poi veniva spedito in tutto il mondo.
When did they start? When did they start cultivating lemons here?
Allora, la coltivazione intensiva del limone è a fine 800 e poi l'inizio del Novecento. C'è stato un momento in cui la costa di Amalfi viveva di coltivazione del limone, perché è ottimo per combattere lo scorbuto. E quindi
the English military made it mandatory that they would have to carry aboard their ships lemons from the Amalfi Coast to combat scurvy, to combat all these diseases, because they had to have the vitamin C, I imagine, no? And this would keep the sailors all healthy while they were out at sea. And you can see lemons today, and it seems like something very touristy. You know, you see limoncello, you know, the bottle of limoncello, but it's so much more than that. Lemons are so much more than that to the Amalfi Coast. It's you know, it's an industry, it's a history, it's a way that the only way that the people could survive, really, to live. You tell me if I se non traduco bene, no? If I don't translate well what you're saying.
È perfetto, no? Assolutamente perfetto.
You know, he didn't ask me, Maurizio didn't ask me to do this interview. I tracked him down, and because it makes me sad. I feel like the Amalfi Coast is sometimes misunderstood. It's just known for glamour and chic hotels and you know, some sort of holiday that has no heart, no soul. And yet this place is filled with a history that is so beautiful. I feel like it needs to be told. And I know that people come here and they need to relax, and maybe they've only got 2 days, and okay, you're just going to do Amalfi and Positano and then you're out of here. But I don't know, don't you think that it's worth learning about how this place came to be, and showing some respect for the generations that have come before? I don't know, I feel like that it's not just a question of respect. I mean, it's beauty as well. I mean, these photos just tell this story. And when I walk through a very touristy place like Positano or Amalfi, it has a different sensation. It has a different effect on me, and I hope it might fit for you as well. For me, it's just so sad that Maurizio has gone to all this work. I mean, really a lot of work, and tracking everything down and having it written in English and Italian, and hasn't really received much recognition at all. And you know what? He's such a humble person, as you can see. He doesn't want to become well known, or he doesn't want to make a lot of money out of the book. I think he just genuinely cares about people being curious about the Amalfi Coast's past, and having respect for what's come before. Anyway, I find it interesting. Hope you do too.